Hi, I'm Ben, and over the next few minutes, we're going to be looking at sources of funds for nascent entrepreneurs. Attending this session will help you to learn the different sources of funds that exist at each stage of the entrepreneurial journey, and to understand the important questions to ask when starting a business. Without financial resources, a new venture will not be able to exploit the business opportunity, no matter how good the idea is. It is not uncommon that entrepreneurs in certain points of the entrepreneurial journey spend more than 80% of their time looking for money. Entrepreneurs at the beginning of their journey generally rely on personal funding as well as funding from family, friends, and sometimes the universities that they're part of. As the entrepreneurial journey further continues, more advanced funding mechanisms will come into the picture. Borrowing capital and securing investment vary throughout the entire entrepreneurial process. Exactly what type of funding or investment is necessary depends on many factors, including the idea, the founder, the market, the growth rate, balance sheets, forecasts, and stakeholders. But where do we start, and how do we survive in the labyrinth of sources of funds? Being afraid of not getting funded is not a good start. Entrepreneurs and investors have specific requirements in each phase of the entrepreneurial process, from idea generation to scaling up. Knowing these requirements allows you to spend your time wisely and secure a future to your business idea. But remember, each step has its rules. Anticipation here is crucial. What is most likely to happen? When? What can go right or wrong along that way? What needs to happen to achieve our business objectives? Imagine you're playing a board game. Some steps will be easy. Some steps will accelerate you on your journey, and some steps will require extra effort from you. If you make a wrong step, you might need to go back and lose your turn. You can also go too slow, and others will catch up with you. A strategy for finance is needed at each step of the entrepreneurial process. So what do we need to know? What are the financial consequences and implications of crucial business decisions such as pricing and volumes? What does it mean to grow too fast in our industry? How much capital do we require? Per each stage of the entrepreneurial journey, a startup, rapidly growing, stagnating, or mature company, how should we be thinking of these questions and issues? Investors have different requirements for each step of your entrepreneurial journey. At the beginning of the business generation process, there is the idea. This is a delicate phase in which investors primarily look at the inventor, that's you, and at the market needs and the costs involved with the project. At this stage, grants come from public institutions, for example the European Commission, or from a university, where ideas are often generated and stimulated. These funds support you in getting a proof of principle and help you to proceed to the next step. A proof of principle means to demonstrate in a limited fashion that your approach will in fact work on your project application. Once you get your proof of principle, you have to produce a sound feasibility plan, followed by a concrete business plan where you describe your product, process or technology, your team, marketing plan, the organization of your business, the risks, and the first financial projections. When you have these elements, you enter the next step, proposition. Yours is not just an idea anymore, it is proven and it is concrete. Investors at this stage put high relevance on the team, on the presence of customers, and of course on the amount of investment needed. Here, typically family and friends will help you. Their investment in your idea plays a vital and often unrecognised part in this step. This may be in the form of debt capital at a low interest rate, or in the form of equity financing, in which the friend or relative receives an ownership interest in the business. However, if you borrow from relatives or friends, it should be done with the same formality as if it were borrowed from a commercial lender, or if the investment came from a venture capitalist. It can be scary to ask money to family or friends, but if you explain to them your vision and clearly disclose the associated risks, they will usually understand your reason and share the adventure with you. People put their money where their heart is. In the proposition phase, it is important that you start defining some measurable outcomes to indicate how your business is performing. Key performance indicators are the numbers used to track these quantifiable results over time. Key performance indicators enable you to optimize each step and the investors to see whether to invest in your business or not. It is at this phase that business incubators can play an important role, since they can help you to develop your network and get access to capital from other investors. Not to mention invaluable coaching and networking connections through the staff and other entrepreneurs at the incubator. Now you are strong enough to enter the next step, the prototype. At this stage, investors look at your organisation as a whole and its sales and the capital needed. This phase is a so-called pre-seed funding or early stage venturing. They want to see a plan for profit and losses, and to know that your idea has a market. Here you will need to produce a revenue model. When your prototype is tested, validated and demonstrated, you can finalise the development of the technology and make it fully operational. The last step of the journey is then the scale-up phase. Investors look at your organisation as a whole and its figures. This is also the so-called second stage venturing or seed funding stage. In this stage, you are expected to present clear forecasts for your revenues, keep liquidity and discuss exit and profit strategies. The costs involved at this stage will especially be production costs. In the last two steps of the journey, prototype and scale-up, you will deal with two main sources of funds, equity and debt. The first is connected to venture capital and the second to banks. Venture capital refers to financing that comes from companies or individuals that are interested in investing in young, privately held businesses in exchange for an ownership share of the business. When you enter the world of the venture capitalist, a new game with new rules will emerge. Usually, venture capitalists do not want to participate in the initial financing of a business unless the company has management with a proven track record. Generally, they prefer to invest in companies that have already received significant equity investments from the founders and are already profitable. Venture capitalists also prefer businesses that have a competitive advantage or a strong value proposition in the form of a patent, a proven demand for the product, or a very special and protectable idea. Venture capital investors often take a hands-on approach to their investments, requiring representation on the board of directors and sometimes in the hiring of managers. They can provide valuable guidance and business advice. However, they are looking for substantial returns on their investments, and their objectives may be at cross purposes with those of the founders. They are often focused on short-term gain rather than long-term success. Venture capital firms are usually focused on creating an investment portfolio of businesses with high growth potential, resulting in high rates of returns. Banks, on the other hand, provide most of the capital borrowed by businesses. As they do not normally have an equity investment in the business, they require any capital to be repaid and charge interest. A startup has little proven capability to generate sales, profits, and cash to pay off debts. So without adequate existing capital and good management, it provides little real loan security to a bank. Knowing the criteria used by various sources of financing is central to devise a time and cost-effective search for capital. When unexpected situations arise, a cash reserve can keep the company afloat. No cash is expendable and every purchase should be considered thoroughly. Even after Microsoft became extremely successful, the company didn't spend money on anything unnecessary like luxury trips or untested strategies. Instead, the company saved the money and built up a large cash reserve. Before making any purchase, question if it is necessary. How will it affect the business? How will the purchase help to reach goals? And what are the risks? To conclude, understanding of your business and who your customers are is a crucial step. Go out and meet the people of your network. Family, friends, and folks are the first ones helping. Seek for investors that have experience in the field or area in which you work, or who simply believe in you and your idea. Until you can prove that your business model is successful, no formal traditional investors will get involved, such as venture capitalists and business angels. This stage is too risky for traditional investors. Therefore, sources that are more agile, such as raising funds using platforms like crowdfunding, might work better.